Hey, what's up guys, my name is Eterno and welcome to the very first actual real episode of the Sparky Engine. So this is being streamed live on twitch.tv/Eterno, so if you want to tune in for future episodes, you may certainly do so. But this episode we're going to start with making the engine, and we're going to make a brand new Visual Studio project and just basically start from scratch. And it should be a very good time. So, I noticed a few comments from a lot of you asking whether I would kind of plan out what I'm going to do in front of videos, or maybe every like 5 videos or something. I would kind of just give you guys a general plan. So we are going to do that because one thing I want everyone here to realize, I already did this. Anyway, one thing I want everyone else to realize is that this is completely live. It's even being live streamed. So it's a whole new definition of live. I've never written this code before. Well, I've written similar code before, obviously. Otherwise, that would be weird. But I don't have this pre-written engine somewhere, and I'm just going to kind of... This isn't like a standard tutorial series. This is me writing an engine live, and you guys watching and hopefully learning a lot from it. So, that being said, yeah, so I'll be doing stuff like planning in front of you guys, because I need to do that anyway. So let's begin. So, what we're going to do this episode is start everything. But we're probably going to focus on a kind of Windows/OpenGL kind of library, framework, context provider, all of those things, right? So I don't want to kind of not use a library for this. I don't want to just use the Win32 API and whatever, the Cocoa Mac kind of thing or whatever, because remember, I do want this engine to be cross-platform, but I also do not want to waste time, especially because this is a Ludum Dare engine, and Ludum Dare it's in like 36 days-ish, so we're running out of time, basically, and also I don't want to rewrite the context creation based on the platform I'm on, so I'm just going to use a library for that, right? So we've basically got 2 options. We've got SDL, so Simple Direct Media Layer, is what that stands for, and then GLFW, no clue what that stands for, but Graphics Layer Fun. I don't know what the W stands for, and I made that up. But anyway, so we've got these 2 to choose from, basically. So if you guys don't know what these are, you should probably research it. I'm not going to probably explain tons of it here. But, yeah, so SDL is... They both do what we want, right? That's why this is going to be a kind of tough choice, right? They both provide us with a window in which OpenGL can run and we can render to, okay, which is our massive target, okay? They also provide us with stuff like input handling, and even SDL even has some cool stuff for like controllers and whatnot. And what else? That's probably around it. So they don't do a huge amount, right? SDL though does have its own kind of rendering APIs, and you can, for example, be like SDL, render me a rectangle, right? But, you know, I like to render my own rectangles, personally. So that's a feature of SDL that we won't be using, which makes me kind of question it, because it's like, well, do we need a library this complex, this large, if we're not going to be using most of its features? So the answer is no, right? So I'm leaning towards GLFW just because it does everything we need out of SDL, and that's about it. It doesn't do too much extra, right? Which is why it's probably going to be an easier choice, because it is a smaller framework. If there are bugs in it, or if something goes wrong, if we want to modify it or something, it'll be much easier because it's less complex, right? And we won't have to waste too much time. So this is the plan. Now, the other consideration we have to make when choosing a framework such as this is its compatibility with Emscripten. So Emscripten is a fantastic little thing, it's magical really, that will basically compile or convert your C++ code into JavaScript code. So essentially it's going to make your C++ application run inside a web browser. We want this game engine to run inside a web browser, so we'll be using Emscripten. We need to talk about its compatibility with these 2. Now, the good news is it's compatible with both of them, okay, which makes this a bit less of a decision. However, I believe it is slightly more compatible with SDL, simply because SDL is more popular than GLFW because it does more, and people are lazy these days, so they probably prefer this because it does more for them. But anyway, the point is, yeah, Emscripten does work with both of these. In my limited time before this series, I did run a few tests of GLFW on Emscripten, and it seemed to work fine, if I recall correctly. So there shouldn't be a massive problem, okay, with GLFW. So we are going to start using GLFW. That's kind of what I've decided, okay? And worst comes to worst, if something doesn't work out with Emscripten, the code we'll be using from GLFW is probably only going to be a total of less than 100 lines of actual code. So it'll be really easy to switch it into SDL if worst comes to worst. So really, there's not much downside. So that's the idea. Yeah, other than that, there's also the fact that SDL supports software rendering and like DirectX and everything. And GLFW is just an OpenGL framework. So, I mean, it just makes sense to use it since Sparky will be an OpenGL engine. Okay, cool. So, what are we going to begin with? And I'm pressing this little button on my pen. But we're going to begin with making the rendering engine. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to download and get GLFW to work. So, based on that, we're going to create a window and probably a bit of a nice kind of API / class that will set up windows in GLFW for us really easily. And then if we have time, we're going to look at Glue, which is something else we're going to use, the OpenGL extension wrangler, which basically just will load modern OpenGL functions into our game so that we can use modern OpenGL, anything past 1.1 really. And of course we'll need that because this engine is going to use modern OpenGL. So that's the plan for today, okay? We'll probably have enough time for this. I don't imagine this will take too long, but that's kind of the plan, okay? Let's begin. So the first thing I want to do is open Visual Studio and make this new project. So this is going to be quite exciting. This will also be on GitHub, by the way, so I need to remember to make this repository and push it at the end of this episode. But when we start with this new project, I'm literally just going to go on Visual C++, General, and I am going to make an empty project. So we're just starting from scratch here. I'm going to call it Sparky. Okay, and the solution name will also be Sparky. I might actually call this Sparky Core and then change the solution name to something like Sparky because we might have other components in there, such as, well, I don't know, we might modularize this project in a sense, and we might actually split it up into several projects in the future. So the core will be all the core engine stuff. So it's probably stuff like maths and rendering and everything that is basically the minimum that we need to run Sparky in, okay? So we'll make that, we'll hit OK. And then here we have our actual setup. So if we right click on this and go open folder and file explorer, it might be useful just to look at our directory. So you can see under projects, we've got Sparky, and then we've got this fantastic debug database full of goodies that no one actually needs. Well, we don't need right now, but we've got the solution file and we've got core, and that's the actual project file. So you can see we've actually got a folder called Sparky Core, which is going to be all the core engine stuff. Cool. So let's begin. So I'm just going to right click on source, add a new file, and we're going to make a main file. So this will be like our test kind of file. If I was feeling particularly adventurous, let's just say, I could actually make a different project called something like game. I might do this. We won't bother with this today, but in the future, I'll probably make a new project called game, and then we'll actually reference this Sparky Core project so that this will only be the code needed for the actual engine, right? But I am going to start off with having a main in here anyway. Cool. So we have nothing to do yet because we need to actually grab GLFW from the internet. So I'm going to open Chrome. I'm going to type in GLFW, and I'm going to click on this download button, which should be fantastic. And let's see. So we want a few things, right? By the way, this GLFW is bound into a lot of other languages, so you probably could use all that. And I think it even works with stuff like, yeah, there's a lot of different bindings here. Anyway, we don't want any of that. We want the Windows precompiled binaries. That's all we'll really need. So 32-bit Windows binaries. The source is also available, so we could build it ourselves, of course. We're not going to do that because there's no need if it's already been done for us. Okay, good. So it's downloading. Here it is. It has downloaded. Let's just check. Okay, yeah, everything we need is in here, so that's fantastic. So let's grab this. I'm actually going to copy this into my documents into Visual Studio 2013, and then I'm actually probably going to make a folder called like libs or something just out here, okay? And this will just have all of our like libraries or dependencies that we use. So anything that's external, we'll kind of just paste in here, and then we can, this will be like an extracted directory. This won't be kind of part of our project or anything. I'm just basically making this, in fact, I might actually just put it into documents because it really has nothing to do with anything. I'm just basically making a folder to extract my files to. So in here, let's talk about this quickly. So we've got some nice docs, which I'm going to mostly ignore. We've got our libs for Visual, for the Visual C++ compiler 2013, which is what we're using. So really we'll only need these two, right? We'll need the libs for the actual project and the DLL for running it. And then we have the include headers, which we also need. So what I'm going to do is open up my other directory, which is right here. So Sparky Core, right? Outside of Sparky Core, okay, I'm going to make a folder called dependencies. Yeah, and inside dependencies, I'm going to put all of our dependencies. So in other words, I will actually be, let's just say, committing them along with the project. So you guys will be able to, you won't have to download anything, basically. We should get this just working. So that's kind of the plan. So inside dependencies, I'm going to make a folder called glfw, which will include everything we need for glfw. So for example, this include directory. So I'll make include, and we'll have that. Then I'll basically just grab this lib, and that's really all we'll need. So now these are actually inside our project, right? Cool. So let's talk about how we're going to actually make them work. I think there's two ways we could do this with Visual Studio. We could, well, we could actually just put it into program files and into Visual Studio, and then we wouldn't even have to modify our project. We can just use it, apart from adding glfw as an additional dependency. But we could make a folder that literally just says lib, and it has all of our different lib files in it. So in other words, we can mix our all of our dependencies into like one big cake and just import them into Visual Studio, in the sense that we won't have to have separate directories for each library. So that's up to you. You could do that. I'm probably not, just because I'm not doing that. I just decided not to for some reason. But inside glfw, we have this include directory. So we want to be able to use these. So how do we do that? Well, let's copy this. Hit up properties. We probably want to actually put into include directories. So under include directories, I probably want to actually use that macro. So let's see what we've got here. So we've got our solution directory. So let's grab that. So otherwise it won't work if I put an absolute path. It won't work for you guys, it'll work for me. So solution directory, I think that does have a trailing slash. Solution directory, which should be Sparky, then dependencies, glfw, include. So hopefully that'll work. I mean, we'll see in a minute, but if we hit OK on that, it should add it, and if we type in include glfw, you can see it is there, which is good. All right, cool. So we've got glfw now. Let's quickly make this. So what I want to do now is just Google glfw again, and there should be a getting started guide. So this is great. So let's just look through this quickly. There should be putting it all together, putting it together. Let's just quickly, we'll probably just init glfw and see if that works. So I'll also have our brilliant IO stream. So if glfw init, I think 0 means bad in this case. So if not glfw init, we'll just print error. So right now we're just kind of importing glfw and making sure everything works before we move on to other stuff. Success. So we're just going to make sure that everything works first. All right, cool. So if we run this now, we'll get errors and whatnot because we haven't actually linked it. But cool. So glfw init is our unresolved external. So if we go to properties, under library directories, let's just copy this other thing. So under dependencies in glfw, I think we've got our fantastic lib folder thing. So we'll add that, okay? Hit OK. And then under our linker and input, under additional dependencies, we want to list our dependencies. So what is it? So glfw3.lib is one of them. OpenGL32.lib we're gonna also want, and then we'll have other stuff here like glew32.lib and whatever for glue, and once we get all that stuff. So that should be it for now, right? So if we recompile this, it should work. Now, it didn't, which is fantastic. So we're gonna have to investigate that. I actually remember this not working. I did try this recently, and it didn't work. So hopefully that's not the error we're having, because otherwise we'll have to recompile everything. But we'll see. Yeah, so bit of backstory. glw3.lib, yeah, that's in there. That is in the input. So one thing we might actually have to do, hopefully not, we'll see. We might actually have to change the system to be console or something. No, that's not it. So fantastic, we got a linking error when we shouldn't. If only there was a good way to debug this. glw3.lib. Alright. So that's definitely included. Dependencies, glfw lib. Let me just... See, this is why I like live streaming it, because I can see that I'm in the wrong configuration for some reason. So make sure you're in the right configuration. Does that mean... How did... Lol. So the reason the include probably worked was because I probably got it in my Visual Studio directory. So that was just a fluke there. So make sure you're in the right configuration. Again, I don't know why it opens with the wrong one, but make sure you're in the right configuration. And then you want to go to your include directories and basically do everything we've done. So we could just copy and paste it, of course, from the release. So let's copy and paste that. And yes, I do want to save changes. And then same with library. And then, of course, same with, same with our input. There you go. All right. So now, no linking errors. Fantastic. Cool. So what we want to do now, and yeah, we're getting these. Okay. So what I should do is basically go into program files and delete glfw from where are we? And delete glfw from everywhere basically. So from include and in lib as well. So delete those two actually. All right. Yeah, so we'll just get rid of that stuff so that we don't get stuff like possible conflicts and whatnot. And then we should get a successful build. And if we run this and we pause it, it should work. Okay, success. Fantastic. So now the glfw is all working, we can probably move on to actually making this window class. And that is the next step. So let's go ahead and just use this show all files window here. We'll create a new folder. We could have done that in the other view, obviously, but I'll call it source. Okay, and then under source, I'm going to make a new folder called graphics, right? And then I'm going to make a new item, right, called window.h. And it's going to be a header file. So this is going to be all of our fun stuff for our window class. So we'll also probably make a C++ file while we're at it called window. Cool. So there you go. I'm gonna put these guys side by side. I keep forgetting that I probably shouldn't be doing that because of the face cam. So I'll try not to do that. But okay, so we're going to choose a fantastic namespace for this. The namespace, of course, is going to be Sparky. So namespaces just basically let us organize our code under our own kind of, I guess, packages and I don't know, just basically so that we don't get conflicts with other libraries and whatnot. So we're going to be using the Sparky namespace because that's the name of this engine. And then I'm also going to put this into the graphics namespace, all right? So there you go. Now Visual Studio will desperately try to correct me here, but I'm going to have to fight it. So inside here, I'm going to make a class called window. And that's probably it. What we'll probably do is Actually, we won't do that for now. So, inside window, we'll have a width and a height for, we'll make this, we don't really need to make it unsigned if we could, but anyway, we've got a width and height for our window. That's probably, let's see, we'll probably also have a name for our window. So, we'll probably eventually have to create our own string class because I don't like the standard one. It's not great, but for now, we'll roll with this because I don't really want to go onto that today. So anyway, on with our window. When we construct it, we want to pass in a name, a width, and a height. And that probably should be about enough information to actually create the window. Destructor wise, I don't think we really need anything yet. So we'll leave that there. And we'll probably have an update method here. And let's see, update. That'll be it for now anyway. We'll start implementing this stuff in a minute. So let's copy this. Let's make this include window. Copy our namespaces in. All of this stuff. And let's go ahead and implement that constructor of ours. So I'm just going to copy the parameters, of course. All right, so, I'm actually going to use a proper convention here. So every field that is private, okay, we won't do this for public fields, but private fields are going to have a nice prefix of M in front of them and an underscore, just so that we realize that they're actually members. So the M in this case is probably going to stand for member. But just a quick kind of prefix thing so that we don't necessarily have to do this dot or this arrow name equals name. We can just do that, right? And so that we always are aware, we basically just have a nice differentiation between local members and local members or parameters and actual fields, okay? So yeah, we'll do that because I want this engine to probably be a bit better written, let's just say. So a lot of people also have conventions for parameters as well, like they might prefix it with an A or something. I don't really like that, so I'm just going to do this. Yeah, this is my theme. So if you want to, I should have probably mentioned this. Yeah, I just looked at the chat there and broke the fourth wall. And now I'm going to distract myself. But this Visual Studio theme is my Visual Studio theme. So if you want to get it, you just go to thecherno.com, and I'm spelling this wrong, /VS, all right? And as you can see, this will graciously download for you, and then you can import it into Visual Studio by going Tools and Import. Anyway, there's a video about this, and that's episode 2 of Sparky, so look at that if you're confused. But yeah, this is my own theme. Cool. So anyway, back to this. So we're going to do that with name, and we're also going to do this with see, this is why I kind of like the fact that I'm streaming this, because if I have any questions that you guys might be having, well, if you guys have any questions while watching this, and this is just a video on YouTube, there's a possibility they might get answered, because there's a lot of people, there's like 100 people or whatever watching this live, who might have the same questions and actually have a chance to ask them while I'm recording the video. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So we'll have that destructor, which will do absolutely nothing as of now. There's nothing to destroy just yet. And we'll have our update method. All right, awesome. So make sure we attach that const at the end. Cool. So back to GLFW. Did I close that again? Man, I'm getting bad at that. Let's Google GLFW again, go to the Getting Started guide, and look at this putting it together section. So all we really need to do to make a window is we have this wonderful pointer. We set it equal to that. We do a bunch of cool stuff. I'm gonna have this on my other monitor and just copy from it pretty much. Whoops. So that is what's gonna happen. So we'll include glfw / glfw3. We'll make our glfw window pointer, or should I say M window. I should probably choose a convention for these things as well. I'll probably just stick with that for now. What else? that's probably all the fields we'll actually need. So back in here, and the jets have stopped, and you guys watching the video will have no idea what's going on, but the Grand Prix is on right now here in Melbourne, so there were these like F-18 jets flying around making a lot of noise when I started the stream, but they're gone now, so that's nice. Anyway, getting back to it, let's make an init method. So private methods I'm going to put down here. So you see how I've got two private blocks, even though I could have just put it there. That's just for organization purposes. Again, if I make a void here called init, it could have been up here and it would have the exact same effect. That just looks weird having methods and members mixed up, so I will make it down here. Okay, so init will actually initialize everything. So we've set all the things and then we're going to call init. Okay, so I could have just done that in the constructor, but I like having an init method usually just so that we can be all cool and everything. So inside here, I'm going to actually make this window. So window equals glfw create window with width, height, our awesome title. We've called it name. Let's call it title. I didn't even think about that when I was writing it, to be honest. But I do want to call it title because it's a bit more, I don't know. Usually window titles are called window titles and not window names. So we've got our width and height, which of course I need to remember. I'm using this fantastic new convention. And let's see. We need, and then the rest apparently can be left at null. So null monitor and null share. I don't want to share this with anyone. Okay, so that's done. So if the window fails, we can terminate it. So I guess we'll just say if the window didn't work out for us, we'll just do something like, oops, fail to create glfw window, and we will return. Okay, so we could even make this a boolean and return false or something if it fails. So let's go into here quickly and just include IOStream. Okay, so back to it. So that's what happens if our window doesn't work out. This is yelling at me because I forgot the title, or the M title. What next? Oh, and we should probably glfw terminate as well. Let's make the context current. Make context current for our window. We can set the swap interval to 1. That should enable vsync. I don't want vsync. We'll probably have to come up with some hack to disable vsync anyway. Hopefully glfw does that, otherwise we'll actually have to hack into that source code and change it. But key callbacks, we don't want that. Okay, the other thing I will have is in window.h, I do want to have some kind of are we closing our window thing. So bool closed const, right? So this will basically we'll have a boolean called m closed, right? And then when it updates, it'll or whatever, when it will poll the events for something, we'll actually be able to set this to true and then return it, so that outside in our game loop or in the game engine's game loop, they can be like, oh, the window just got closed. So that's our master plan. So in this void, in this bool closed, we'll just make it here quickly. So I don't know how glfw does events such as that, so I don't remember at least. Apparently it's just got a glfw window should close, so we might not even need that thing. And what's wrong with this? It returns a boolean. That's what's wrong. So we might even just return glfw window should close. I don't know. We'll see if that works, but I'm hoping it does, because then we wouldn't even need the other thing. Window should close. All right, so there we go. So hopefully that will work. Next up, so in update, we want to, oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, okay, good. I've just remembered glfw a bit better. So let's swap the buffers. I'll explain what I'm thinking in a second. Yeah, so unlike SDL, which requires you to handle every event manually, glfw will just poll events, and I think it will register this as an actual event. So we shouldn't have any problems with that is basically what I'm saying. So update will poll events and swap the buffers, and everything else should pretty much work. Okay, so in the destructor for window, we will have glfw terminate. Because if we'll probably only have one game window anyway, so if a window gets created or whatever, we can terminate it. We need to grab our init code, cut it, and put it over here. So if it failed, we can say something like fail to initialize glfw. Obviously, if it's successful, we don't need to do anything. And okay, so what we'll do instead of all this is we will change this init to be a bool because we'll have multiple errors. We'll change it over here as well. And what we'll do is we'll if no, that's not what I meant, keyboard. If init is false, so if that, then we'll probably just glfw terminate. Okay, so we'll have that here, and then all we have to do here is print our error message and return false, and that's all we'll do, right? It'll be nice and simple. So fail to initialize that, and then we can remove that. All right, cool, and then we'll return true at the end of this. So I think that's all we'll need in terms of initialization, which is actually, I think glfw might actually be even simpler than SDL in terms of how to get things up there, which is cool. So we've even got resizing here, and this is quite a nice document. Yeah, this is a great line of code here, by the way. This is a great little thing here. Okay, cool. So, don't think I missed any useful chat messages here. No, cool. Everything's good. You guys are all happy. Good. Yeah, so that's our window class right now. So it's pretty much, I think it's at the point where it's probably usable. So back in main, what we're going to do is, well, firstly, we're going to include source, graphics, and window. I don't like you backslashes, so I'm going to change it to forward slashes. But we'll include window. I'm going to say using namespace. So you can see this main is not in the Sparky namespace, of course. It doesn't need to be, it shouldn't be, because it's not part of the engine at all. This is just for testing purposes. So we will use both of these though to simplify this. So window. So we'll go 800 by 600, why not? And actually the first thing is, so Sparky. All right, cool. So we've created the window. So now our whole game loop is simply while window.closed is, of course, false, we'll simply window.update. Okay, and when the window gets to here or whatever, it will automatically be terminated because the destructor will run at the end of this and everything will be fantastic. So let's look at this. Errors. So init must return a value. Yes, it must. So let's put in return false. All right, fantastic. So we've got our window. Does the close button work? Yeah, it does. Okay, so we should probably okay, so one thing you can see here is that when we hit our close button, glfw doesn't terminate because we've got that in the window destructor, and the window object won't be destroyed until after this main function. So it's getting to system pause and the window's still live. So the point is that might be something you want to think about. You might want to make it terminate as soon as the close button is pressed because otherwise it won't. So basically you might, because right now the window will actually be kept alive if you place the close button. It's actually up to this to close it. So you might want to change that. But if we get rid of this system pause here and we run it and we hit the close button, it should close. All right. So again, just a consideration thing. We'll probably leave it as is right now because there's no real need to change it, but we can change it later. Okay, cool. So let's do a few OpenGL things and make sure OpenGL is running and working correctly. So I think glfw3 might actually just, we don't even have to include that or this, but hopefully OpenGL, I think glfw does include some kind of OpenGL like headers in it, so we won't have to include any other header files. But if I run something like, let's just, after we create the context, of course, gl clear color. Yeah, okay, it is in here. So if we set it to something like a really nice blue here, all right, and run it, hopefully we should see blue. We see black. So investigation time. So it looks like make context current did indeed run for our window, and our window didn't fail in being made, so this is definitely happening. We are swapping the buffers. We're not running clear though, so that's probably why. So GL clear color buffer bit. All right, fantastic. That's our clearance. So into window, I'm going to actually make a clear method. Again, you could make your you could make your renderer do this. I'm probably going to make the window do this though. At least for now, I don't really see any downside with that. So void clear const. Let's see update. So we'll put close at the bottom here. Just organizing this stuff. So again, you see how I put clear above update? That's just because clear is usually called before updating. So chronological stuff. So we'll clear the color buffer bit and the depth buffer bits. All right, so make sure it has that GL prefix. Okay, cool. So now, yay. Did we have a warning there? Int forcing. Oh, where's this? Oh, because it's an int. Well, we could that will probably fix it, or get rid of that warning. Probably the easiest way. Anyway, cool. So we've got a window class now. Let's get some information from OpenGL as to what on earth is going on. So if I call GL get string GL version, we should see what version we're on. So 4.5, fantastic. Let's talk about glue and getting that to work, because I think this is pretty much all I wanted to do in terms of window right now. I'm just thinking we don't have resizing or anything going on. We could. Resizing is actually really simple. Yes, it is. So it is. In fact, let's put resizing in right now because it's so simple. So right now, if we resize it, it'll just work. So that's fine because it is clearing. But once we have objects and whatever, when we're rendering geometry, let's actually do that. So I'm going to use, you guys are going to see me use immediate mode for the only time ever, literally, in this series. But if we GL begin GL triangles, I don't even remember how to do this. This is old school. So negative 0.5, negative 0.5. Then we'll put 1 at 0 and positive. Okay, so whoops, I didn't put the end. Lol. GL end. All right, and I don't know what color it's going to be, but white will do. So there's our fantastic triangle. If we resize this, it probably won't. Yeah, as you can see, the triangle is not actually changing. Like, it should be in the middle and it should be here, right? So our window isn't getting resized. So let's make it do that. If we go into update, all we really need to do is probably after we poll the events, I would imagine, is we simply get the frame buffer size for our window, and then we pass in our width and height, and as you can see, they do get passed in here as well. They get passed in by reference, which means that, well, this function is going to actually change them. What is up? Const int. Really? Is that not what happens? What's our width and height? Well, what do they do here? So I'm looking at the doc. Width and height. Int width and height. Well, clearly that's fine. Oh, because it's const. Okay, so no more constness for you update. Goodbye. I thought the variable had to be const, and I'm like, what? You're going to set it, but it's const. Anyway, it was confusing. So, let's see, that's all good. Yeah, so this will set our width and height to different values now. So if we had some getters here, such as int get width, int get height, which actually will be const, right? And I'll probably just make these inline. Why not? Okay, so return M width and return M height. Okay, so I don't actually know if inline will work as it's expecting to. These will probably be automatically inline by the optimizer anyway, but yeah, so essentially we're going to be getting the width and height just to test this out. Inline just means that it won't actually result in a function call, it'll just return it. It won't actually have to call the function. It'll basically paste the function into where it gets called. But that being said, let's go ahead and just grab our width and height. So window.getWidth, window.getHeight. Alright, cool. So right now it's 800 by 600. If I modify this or whatever, you can see that once I let go, it will adjust to that new height. So, well, width and height. So fantastic. Also, I seem to be running a lot of these. Goodbye. All right, so yeah, so that's done. All we have to do now is just tell OpenGL to resize this viewport. So once we do that, we can go ahead and call GL viewport to be 0, 0, and then simply M width, M height. And that's it. So now if we resize it, pretty cool, it resizes along with us, right? The aspect ratio gets kind of destroyed because of whatever, because, well, we're stretching it and whatnot. Let's go ahead and create a better sized window in the 16:9 aspect ratio. Cool. So there we go. We can do that. And yes, good point mentioned by Norlick. We shouldn't be doing this in the update method because that will happen regardless of whether the window is resized. So what we should have is some kind of resize callback so that this code only runs when the window actually gets resized. I'm not sure, like, so the GLFW, I keep closing it. Get back here getting started. So GLFW actually do it in the update, but that's because this is just an example. So I don't actually know if there is a resize callback. There probably is. Let's see. Here we go. If you wish to be notified when the window is resized, then there's set window size callback. So we'll just do that, and it's that. All right, fantastic. So yeah, we will optimize this slightly here. So we'll make a private. We already have a private method. This might not want to be a private. No, we won't make it here at all. We'll make it over here. So void window resize. So GLFW window is what it wants. Window int width and height. All right, fantastic. So all we have to do here is, oh, I think it does this part for us anyway. Lol. So we'll probably only have to do this. Okay, good. So let's just test this out and make sure it works. And we should set the current. That's going to be annoying because we have to set the current Windows thing. We'll integrate that in just a second. So up here in init, I'll just simply call GLW set window size callback to our window resize. All right, and that's it. And for our window, okay, and that'll call that. So if we run this and get our build errors, okay, so we could either put it up top or we could just declare it up here. So I'll probably just do that. Of course we need our parameters, so up you go. All right, so now it should still work, as you can see. So the only downside here is that we're not setting our actual, like, this isn't really run, like, it's not, our Windows width and height isn't actually being changed because it's simply doing its OpenGL thing, but the problem is it's not changing this width and height at all, right? We can't really make it do that because this is as you can see, this is not part of the window class, right? It has no idea who the window is. Well, it has idea about who this is, but it doesn't have any idea about who the what do you call it? It has no idea who our window is. So several ways we could go around this. We're probably going to leave this as B right now. We don't really need to poll the width and height all the time. We probably might in the future. But yeah, but for now, we'll just leave it as is because it's not really a problem right now. So for now, width and height will be our initial widths and heights. Okay, but cool. Anyway, so resizing is working. All right, cool. So let's get on to glue. You know what? We're gonna save glue for next episode because it's already 5:30 and I have to flee. So if you guys have any questions, I'm basically going to open up the chat right now for any questions so that we can ask away. But this is our fantastic window with some OpenGL immediate mode. Embarrassing, but we'll set up glue next episode, which should be tomorrow. So I'm going to stream tomorrow around the same time, maybe around probably around let's see, probably around 3:30ish p.m. my time, maybe 4 p.m. my time. So that's Australian Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, so there's our fantastic window. Any questions? Why did you use a triangle and not a rectangle? Asks Auriac. Well, that was a very big mistake on my part, so we're going to change that now. Well, the actual reason was because it has less vertices, and thus it would theoretically be faster for me to do that. But since we're not in that mode anymore, we can ignore that. So let's change this a bit. No, that's not what I meant. So that, and that. Is that right? Only time will tell. Yes. So there's our rectangle now, which is amazing. Okay. How many words per minute do I type? I don't know. About 100-ish. Yeah. That's looks like everything else is pretty much clear. So there's our engine. It's the beginnings of. So I will put this on GitHub. So right over here, we'll have a Sparky engine repository, and all of this code will be there, which will be awesome. And then tomorrow we'll take a look at integrating glue and actually using some modern OpenGL. And from then on, we'll just move on to basically creating standard abstractions for OpenGL. So that's kind of the plan, right? Tomorrow we'll implement glue and then and make sure that we can use it and whatever, and everything's set up correctly. And then from then we'll move on to abstracting OpenGL into this engine so that we can create stuff like shaders and textures easily and draw objects easily. And yeah, we'll just get on with the rendering engine. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys who are watching the actual YouTube video have any questions, just ask them and leave a comment below, and then I'll probably answer them next video, especially because these videos are going to be pretty frequent, so there'll be no problem with that. Okay, cool. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Whoa.